So, I'm not a happy man. You can tell I'm not a happy man. I'm more bored, too. Not even sitting in my chair, I'm just laying here across my bed, television's in front of me, movies behind me. Um, I just sat through, watched Dario Argento's Dracula 3D. So, yes, I obviously had to watch it in 3D because I love 3D. I'll watch almost anything in 3D. I've heard when I've heard a lot of things about this movie, read a lot of reviews. None of them were pleasant. And you know what? I still want, I'm still gonna pick this up. Still gonna watch it. Why not? It's it's a dog of a movie. It's pretty. It's I can look at a bad movie and there's at least something good. There's one minorly good thing about this movie, but it's almost not even worth mentioning. Yeah, this is one of the most supreme disappointments in a film. One of the most extreme missed opportunities in movies. Um, Dario, the director, Dario Argento is a master of horror, plain and simple. The man is one of the finest directors ever to grace the genre. He has innumerable classics underneath his belt, but within the last decade or so, he hasn't been doing that well. He sort of hit it almost like a dry spell. Though his two episodes for Masters of Horror, Pelts on season two and Jennifer on season one, were phenomenally good and two of the best episodes that show produced. I was Argento. It's Argento is an acquired taste. I will say that he's not. You can't just jump to any one of his movies and get into it. He has a very distinctive flavor, and I would say if you want to get into art, his films are very dreamlike. They're very um, even I would say artistic in a way. They're slightly they're fairly artistic. They're fairly dense in how they're layered and how it relies very much upon the audience watching the movie to interact with the film and really read into it. So he's not very much a conventional director, and so it's easy to understand how some people. It did take me a while to get into Argento. And if you want to start, you can start. I would say start with his very first film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Very good film. Sort of a very much more conventional giallo, sort of lurid mystery, murder mystery film. Or start more recent with his two episodes from Masters of Horror, Jennifer. Maybe not Jennifer, but Pelts. Pelts definitely. They're Pelts and Bird of the Crystal Plumage are probably his most conventional movies until this one. But yeah, see, I'm starting. I literally finished the film 5 minutes ago, and I'm struggling to think about something to say about it. It's it's 2 hours long, and I'm wondering why is it 2 hours long? Um, what's the story? I mean, it's Dracula. It's basically a retelling of Dracula. It's not the full story. It's all set in a little town in Romania, um, and the castle, and pretty much Jonathan Harker comes to town, goes to work as a librarian for the count, meets his very busty vampire slave bride. He calls her his niece to Harker. Harker gets bitten, disappears for most of the movie. Mina comes in, stays with Lucy. Lucy becomes a vampire. I'm not giving away any spoilers here, so I don't feel bad about spoiling the film because it's been seen. this entire film has been done before. And that's not to say, I mean, there have been stories that have been done before, but it's how you tell them. It's how you tell the story. That's important. It's how you tell the story. It's what you infuse into the story that makes it, to make it different, to make it yours. That you can go, yeah, you know, the story is standard. This I've seen the story before, but there's a twist. There's a flavor to it that makes it unique and interesting. And this doesn't have it at all. Getting so, you know, the big twist is that Dracula wants Mina to be his bride because she resembles his long dead wife. Okay, we've seen that before. That takes place in the last 20 minutes of the movie. There's no setup to it, no build up to it. There's one scene where Dracula mentions where Mina is at the castle and looking for Jonathan, and she's like, "I think I've known you for somewhere. I think have we met before?" That's it. That's the only reference to it, and then it pops up, and that's the big problem with this movie. One of many problems, but one of the big problems is with the story. Scenes just start and stop. Almost feels like they're in the middle. The first scene when Lucy gets attacked by Dracula, played by Dario Argento, she's already sitting up in bed, looking around, you know, with the creepy music playing that just gets incessant. It just and then the scene just cuts right when she meets Dracula, right when Nikki starts smooching her, just cuts. Okay, but there's no build up to it. There's no Mina creeping around. There's no soft. It's just you start in the middle. It's like, oh, let's have all the build up and let's cut all out of the movie. Um, yeah, but yeah, that's what this entire movie. That scenes just, and it's not like, you know, you can sometimes stop a scene early because it's meant to build up to something that you're meant to come back to the scene repeatedly and learn more and get those nuggets of information to where it's like building like, oh, there's this big reveal. No, the scene just cuts, goes on to something else. It doesn't do anything. It just makes it feel so disjointed, so wretched. Um, you know, it just makes the whole film more glaringly bad when, you know, Argento, who's a very visual director, and I'll get to the visuals in a while, in a little bit, but he's a very visual storyteller, and he's telling the story in such a disjointed, horrible way. If it wasn't for the artwork that says Argento's Dracula 3D, and the back says directed by Dario Argento, you could show this film to anybody who loves Argento, might not even, let's say, pretend they never even heard of this movie, and they would have, they could not tell that it was an Argento film. You would think it's just some first time guy with a bunch of friends who's never done a film before ever, but and never written a film either. Um, the only the only positive thing I can say about this movie, and this is once again, I love bad films. I love watching bad movies, and you know what? Even in the most terrible film, there's something positive you can say. I can say about the Twilight films. Ooh, this is going to get you. I can say about Twilight 5. This randomly pick one. Michael Sheen, the evil vampire. His 15 minutes on screen are glorious. The dude chews the scenery. He overacts like hell and makes it wonderful. There's nothing in this movie. Um, the only, the closest thing to a good scene, the closest thing to almost what I think Argento was going for, is you learn the town is in cahoots with Dracula. And that's interesting. That members of the town, like the blacksmith, the priest, the garrison soldiers, you know, the innkeeper, they know Dracula's a vampire. It's not like they go, "Ooh, it's a spooky castle." They know he's a vampire. But Dracula has apparently paid their debts. He's built roads for them. He's used this wealth to build a school, you know. But they're sitting around going, "Oh, you know, he's eaten a couple of our town villagers." That's not part of the bargain. Maybe we should rethink this. And that's when Dracula sort of comes in a swarm of in a fly swarm of flies, and I'm like, ooh, but this is really interesting. The town is in cahoots with the vampire. It's almost like the old, the slasher cliche of everybody knows killer hillbillies live up in the woods, you know, and that's interesting. That's almost like they're discussing this idea of a dark guardian angel, and once again, that appeals to me. That's interesting. You could build an entire film around that premise. Thomas Kretschmann, who plays Dracula, fantastic actor, comes in and he just exudes, and the music just builds, and the camera work is slow and panning, and it just builds up. He just comes in and says, "Hello, everyone. Obviously, I'm American. I can't do the deep German. Oh, I can do it. The German accent. Just going on, gentlemen." And he's not like jovial or just cordial. It's just that very calm where you're going, "You're so screwed." He's very calm. Like, have you thought about reneging on our pact? Let's cut straight to the point. You know, I'm like, this is, and I'm like, ooh, okay, this is gonna be a nice couple minutes of build up as he's talking, expounding exposition, and just being really creepy. And he just says, "So does anyone have anything to say?" It's like, "You're a bunch of cowards." His nails grow out, as the vampires do, and he then butchers everybody. As quick as this scene starts, as quick as I'm starting to go, okay, here's at least a really good scene I can talk about, that I can go, you know what? Netflix this movie, watch this one scene, it's good. The scene ends in about 2 minutes. And he goes about butchering everybody, doesn't discuss about the pack, doesn't discuss how this arrangement came to be. You sort of know, okay, the town has some sort of pact with Dracula. What is that? I want to know that. I want to know that stuff. That stuff is interesting to me. And I'm sure it'll be interesting to the viewers. Nope. Dracula kills everybody, and that's when the action is just so bad. How it's staged, how it's shot, how it's choreographed. It reminds me of almost like a student production. You know, everybody's moving around like automatons, and punches are being thrown far too far, moved far too way. Um, everyone is just almost. The guy lowers the gun. You can tell he's waiting for Dracula to punch him, but he moved the gun too early or something like that. It just kept in the movie. It's this scene which started out good and I was kind of enjoying it, did nothing. It even the action when he kills all the townsfolk who are going to betray him, nothing to it. You know, and then he sits down and leaves the blacksmith alive because the blacksmith is the only person who goes, "Hey, Dracula is, what are you guys talking about? Dracula has done good for this town. Sure, he's killed a couple people, but whatever. It's all for the good of everybody." Um, yeah, I cannot really say much about that. That's the one good scene in this movie, the one good thing, and it just starts and stops almost like that. And it there's no building up the tension before the massacre. None of that. Dracula gets in 3 lines before he kills everybody. That's it. There's no build up, and that's the thing. There's no suspense. There's no atmosphere in this film. There appears to be no attempt at doing that, and that's what really depresses me. There's even in a bad horror film, I think you only see that sometimes they do try to create an atmosphere, create a mood. There's really none of that here outside that one scene. You know, Argento tries, I think, but this is not. It looks bad visually. So I'll talk about visual. I mean, if you look at Argento's during his heyday, during the '80s, especially with a film like Suspiria, that thing is just brilliant use of color, brilliant use of lighting. I mean, just a gorgeous. I mean, look at any of Argento's movies; they're gorgeous. The man has a really keen eye. Back then he did. Nowadays, I don't know. It's the original trailer. When I saw the original trailer for this film, it looked like someone shot it. Like it looked like this. It looked like I'm shooting on an Insignia NSDV 720p. It's not the greatest camera in the world. I'll be the first. It's not the greatest camera in the world. I wouldn't shoot a movie on it. It looked like this. Hell, you can YouTube it down. Just go to the search engine. Just go to the search, type in Dario Argento's Dracula 3D trailer, find the trailer, and watch it. It looks like this. It looks like a DV camcorder. You know what? The final movie, it does look better. At least they went. It looks like they went back through and color graded it, color timed it, but it still looks digital. And this is a movie that was shot on. I'm. This is a film that proves you might have the best toys. Doesn't mean you know how to use them. Doesn't mean that automatically makes your movie good. This film was apparently shot on Arri Alexa, which is a wonderful camera. I have a friend who's a prep tech at a really big camera house, who she sings the praises of Alexa left, right, and center. She absolutely loves it. Talks about how beautiful it is. It's a wonderful camera. Mimics the look of film. Doesn't do it here. It's obviously digital, and apparently they also shot some of it on a Sony PMW7 F3 or something like that, some other sort of 35 millimeter uh, mimicking camera system. It just looks digital, and that's the thing where that it doesn't look. It doesn't look like anybody took the time in post production to grade this film, to color time it, to make it balanced, to take the edge off, because digital can look bad. Digital does raw footage looks bad for digital. I'll say that immediately. I do think digital cameras are great. The Red Epic, the Red family, the Ari family, they're great cameras. But I guarantee you, you look at the raw dailies of something like even something like The Hobbit. It's going to look rough. It's going to be piercing and sharp to a point of like, ooh, that's a little much. And it does show me that yes, they went back through and they touched it up. The colors are a little more are balanced. A bit of the digital video ness is taken off, but not much. It still looks video. Um, I've seen. I can look at a low budget movie shot on film. It'll look flat. It'll look flat basically. Excluding 3D altogether, but digital video, a low budget digital film, even shot on red or shot on a high quality system, that looks terrible. That looks worse because there's no post production time taken to alter it. I've seen films shot on DSLR on a 7D or a 5D that look better than this movie. That are shot better than this movie. And this is probably the most venomous review I've ever given because there's not much I can really like about this one. Um, and visually, I can always say at least Argento's movies, even the more recent, less good ones, are at least visually wonderful. This one isn't. And it also brings me to a point of where I'm baffled with European cinema. In America, for 30, anywhere between $20 to $50 million is your average budget. That in Europe is like people greenlighting the Lone Ranger kind of budget, the $200 million budget. It's like your movie's costing $30-50 million. That's a lot. I look at a film like Stalingrad, the Russian film that was shot for IMAX 3D, coming out at the end of February in the United States. That movie was apparently costing $30 million American. I look at the trailer and I go, this in America, this will cost you upwards of $50 to $100 million to achieve this kind of quality of production value. Dracula 3D apparently cost about $10 million, give or take. Now, 3D camera rigs are more expensive. You're using two cameras, they take longer to set up. I don't see where the money went. The sets look cheap. The locations, ruins. Okay, ruins in the Italian countryside. Um, the visual effects are laughable. I will say that the visual effects are hilariously bad. The Asylum puts more effort. These sci-fi original pictures put more effort into the CGI than this film does. This film has some of the worst CGI I've ever seen. It's laughably bad. And people do complain about CGI blood in a big budget Hollywood movie. Watch this. Good lord, you will be like, oh, thank you, big, World War Z for using CGI blood whenever you can, because that looks so much better than this. Oh my god. Um, the only funny thing about the CGI is now the infamous praying mantis. Because when he goes to abduct Nina, somehow Dracula thinks that turning into a praying mantis the size of a person is the most logical form to take. No, no, he just can't mist into the room and cart her away and mist her out. No, he's going to turn into a giant praying mantis and storm, and storm the Bastille effectively. It's that okay. I have read about the praying mantis scene, and part of me just went, "This cannot be as. This has to be more glorious in the movie than just reading it. It's not as glorious. It's just baffling. It's one of those things you just, even though you know it's coming, you sit there and go, "Did who's the one that thought of this? Who thought this was a good idea? Where's this in the book?" Um, so yeah, that's the, but yeah, the, so this would be a, I'm struggling here, and I don't like when I struggle with reviewing a movie. I don't like it. Um, yeah, the $10 million. Okay, I understand. Definitely, quite a bit of money went to the 3D, went to the rigs, and having to shoot that because 3D does take a little longer to shoot. But was no money spent in post production? Did no one save the money to take the edge off the digital, make it a little more film like, to play with the colors? And that's the thing where the scenes are lit so flat. They're lit very flat. There's no there's not many gels. There's not playing with light or playing with shadow like you should in a horror film. None of that. Um, 3D. How's the 3D? I love 3D. I absolutely love 3D. I will watch 3D any day of the week. Um, it's okay. I mean, there's a couple of gags where stuff comes out of the screen at you. Sorry. Like when Dracula kills everyone and does that massacre of the betrayers, he throws a sword at somebody, um, reaches his hands out, throws his claws. I will say, the massacre scene lends credence to why CGI blood is good in a 3D film, because the guy's throat is slit and they're using practical blood here. Problem is, outside that first massive spurt, it doesn't read on camera, and that's the thing I think that a lot of people are really unfair to visual effects when it comes to blood, because practical sometimes doesn't read well. And you know what? You might have it spurting towards camera. Oh, it's going to be in 3D. It's going to be so cool. It doesn't read. In that case, you do need to go CGI for the blood coming towards you for it to pick up. Um, but like the lighting, it's mostly, I won't say it's flat 3D. But it seems like Argento doesn't necessarily know how to exploit the format. He's not blocking the actors to fill the frame and put a sense of space. He'll have a table in the middle of a room, and call it done. Couch. Have an actor sit. So there is some depth, but Argent. It really pains me when a very visual director doesn't is given 3D as a format and doesn't play with it, which Argento does not. Argento doesn't play with the format at all, which depresses me. Um, I will say it being in 3D probably made the 2 hours pass a lot faster than I thought they were. Um, I guess my second positive thing is that the film does move. It doesn't. It's not as slow as I thought it would be. But then again, maybe because I'm watching it in 3D, and 3D seems to make everything better, in my opinion. Most things. But actors, most of the actors are Italian or European. I have no idea what they've done. Asia Argento, she's usually very good. I generally enjoy what I've seen her in. Nothing to do here is Lucy. Very bland, very boring. Rutger Hauer, for the 20 minutes he's in the film, looks very, very confused. He's not in his Rutgerness. He's not being his Rutgerness. Um, Thomas Kretschmann's Dracula. I really like Thomas Kretschmann, and the one scene where he just before he performs the massacre, nice and creepy, really good. The rest of the film, like Rutger Hauer, he just looks bored. Just looks bored out of his mind. Um, it's like those two are almost in a different movie than everybody else, and I don't know why. So the acting isn't good. Um, I'm looking at the back of the people who gave this as a positive review, and I'm like, I don't know exactly what movie they saw, but I didn't see that. Um, it did compete apparently out of competition at the Cannes Film Festival. Yay! So it played at the Cannes Film Festival. Whoop de doo. So did Da Vinci Treasure. Sorry, Da Vinci Code. Um, but yeah, Dracula 3D. This is. I love vampire films. I love vampire films, and my contention with if you're going to do a vampire movie, a zombie film, a werewolf movie, or whatever, you need to introduce something different to them, even if it's a little twist. For as bizarre and as much as I hate sparkly vampires from Twilight, you know what? Stephanie Meyer, that was her twist on vampires. That made her vampires unique to her universe. When I write vampires for my stuff or werewolves, I want to put a twist on it. Just to make them different. What makes my vampires different from another person's, from Stephanie Meyer's vampires? What makes them different from uh, Anne Rice's vampires? Anne Rice, her vampires, their culture. She has a twist to it that makes it her own. That creates a universe unique. This film, uh, apparently, Dracula can turn into a praying mantis. That's the extent of uniqueness that this film gets. Shapeshifting's been done, but I don't think it's ever been done to a praying mantis. But see, there's no new things being offered for vampires outside of the idea of the human villagers sort of in cahoots, sort of now more or less being servants to it. And once again, that's a whole movie right there. Of an entire village who made a pact with a vampire and now is starting to get second thoughts. There's an entire film right there. There's a dynamic film right there, and this is not it. Um, I'm struggling what else to say. I'm not a happy man. I knew it was going to be bad going into it, but I went, you know what? I get enjoyment out of a bad film. That confuses the hell out of everybody. You know what? I could probably enjoy this. Nope, I really didn't. Um, yeah, it looks bad. It's shot on professional equipment. Visually, it doesn't look good. I would say the 3D transfer on the Blu-ray, because give credit where credit's due. IFC or whoever did their 3D Blu-ray image is solid throughout. There's only some. I only noticed ghosting literally like in one scene. Um, it was exterior and there was like a column where I could see a double image. But that's about it. Just one column of four. Otherwise, the image is very consistent, very solid. So this is a solid 3D presentation on the disc. Um, and there's a behind the scenes featurette, which actually is a 1 hour documentary. I haven't watched it yet. I just press play and check how long it runs. It's an hour, which is much more than I expected. So maybe I can watch it and figure out whose idea it was to put the giant praying mantis in here. Um, yeah, Dracula 3D. A gigantic missed opportunity, a gigantic fumble of massive proportions. Um, if you like vampire films and just really curious, there's not much I can say to stop you from watching it. Outside of that, there's not much biting scenes. That's if that's what you like, the bite scenes. Not really none of that. It's it's just dull. It doesn't have every time someone fights with a human fights a vampire, it's stilted. It's obviously staged. There's no naturalness to it, and it starts and stops like that. Just no build up, no tension. Just suddenly vampire dead, done. I li- you think I'm exaggerating? No, that's about how quick it goes. Um, the if you're a fan of Dracula, if you're a fan of Dario Argento, and if you just want to watch every Dracula film ever made, you know what? You're going to watch it anyway, and you're going to go, well, the guy I never heard of on the internet was right. This is a stinker. Class A stinker. If you want to watch a better Dracula film with Rucker Hauer in it, Dracula 3 Ascension, which I have up on the shelf, but I'm not going to get it. The third in the Dracula 2000 series. Yes, they made sequels during that whole straight to video sequel craze back during the early 2000s, middle 2000s. Um, Rucker Hauer plays Dracula, and he's pretty fun in it. He's chewing the scenery like nobody's business. That's a fun movie. Watch that one instead. Um, Dracula 3D. If you're like me and watch bad films, watch vampire films, watch 3D, well, you know what? If you're gonna get it anyway, just get it. Get it like I got it. Got it really cheap. I sort of cashed out a big gift certificate I had and got it for only a couple bucks. But yeah. So yeah, I'm not a happy man from this. I got a slice of chocolate cake in the fridge and cheerwine. Nectar of the Gods cheerwine. It's great. And the only upside was Mega Shark vs. Mecha Shark from the Asylum also got released today on Blu-ray. So I'll probably watch that too. Put me back in a happy place and have some chocolate cake. So yeah. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. I love the Mega Shark movies. I absolutely love them. Well, what made this awesome? I kept posting to Asylum's Facebook page, make it in 3D. Please make it in 3D. Unfortunately, they didn't, and I can understand why. Low budget and all. This one, unless you're just ardently curious, just to go, it can't be that bad, or just to go, I need to see it just to experience it. You know what? I'm the same way. You can't talk me out of it, no matter what you do. Can't talk me out of it. Um, so yeah, most most laid back review you're ever gonna get from me, just because this film has made me so sad. But once again, I got chocolate cake, I got cheerwine, and I got the next Mega Shark film on Blu-ray. So that does make Rick happy, I guess. That takes sad Rick and make him happy Rick. And I like happy Rick. Everyone likes happy Rick. Okay. Thank you for watching this for the 4 people who will. Ciao.